This is HSK9, Radio Thailand World Service, broadcasting from Bangkok for listeners in Asia and the Pacific, the Middle East and Africa, Europe and America. It is now time for our broadcast in English for listeners in Europe.
From the Public Relations Department of the Royal Thai Government, this is Radio Thailand News.
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
This is Radio Thailand News Hour. With me กระจ่างวิทย์เจาะจิต
And with me นวรัตน์วงศ์อารยะ
Starting off our national news. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says more than half of the population in Phuket have already received at least their first COVID-19 vaccine dose. Meanwhile, 3 government agencies clarified matters concerning vaccine distribution to the general public.
In the Global Digest, an Indian official confirms the death of a man who had 39 wives and 94 children.
And on tech today, Microsoft unveils a batch of new titles for Xbox at the world premiere video game trade show.
We will now give you the details on those headlines and many more.
National News.
In national news, the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, or CCSA, the Ministry of Public Health, and the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, or BMA, have sought to clarify matters concerning vaccine distribution to the general public. Dr. Opat Kankawinpong, Director General of the Department of Disease Control, said the Ministry of Public Health has been working in accordance with government policy to inoculate at least 50 million people against COVID-19 in the hope of achieving herd immunity by the end of this year. Additionally, Bangkok Governor Police General Aswin Kwanmueang said the Ministry of Public Health had previously delivered 500,000 vaccine doses to the BMA from June 7th to 14th, 350,000 of which were from AstraZeneca. 126,000 of 150,000 Sinovac doses are also being administered, with another 24,000 allocated to disease control and emergency usage. Meanwhile, CCSA Director General Nattapon Nakpanit assured that this month's plan to administer 6 million doses remains on track.
Ayutthaya Hospital has confirmed that it recently discovered 18 of its staff had contracted COVID-19. The hospital is currently mass testing all of its 1,700 employees and has announced a 3-day closure to conduct deep cleaning operations from June 13th until the 15th. According to the hospital, a large-scale screening, tracing, and investigative operation is underway, with some 700 people having already tested negative for the coronavirus. According to Dr. Shokchai Lee Toshawalit, director of Ayutthaya Hospital, the first confirmed case was a driver who tested positive on June 12th after completing a mandatory pre-treatment test for an injury sustained during an accident. The hospital then discovered 17 more cases within the hospital among 109 people who were at high risk of exposure. The Provincial Public Health Office, local foundations, and nearby hospitals are now assisting Ayutthaya Hospital in addressing its staff shortages, particularly patient transport drivers.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has confirmed that more than half of Phuket's population have already received at least their initial dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Ministry Deputy Spokesperson Nattapanu Nopakun said the inoculation campaign is proceeding as planned, with around 60.6% of the population having already been inoculated. He noted that 17.5% of Bangkok residents have also received their first shots. Additionally, the spokesperson said Bangkok officials have been closely monitoring the COVID-19 situation across 84 clusters. He said authorities are urging members of the public to be mindful when sharing information about COVID-19 vaccines with others and to only provide data from trusted sources in order to avoid spreading misinformation.
Registration for the third phase of the government's co-pay scheme began on Monday and was met with much fanfare by the public. Residents registered through the campaign website at worldwideweb.konlakรึ่ง.com and the Baotang mobile wallet application, gradually filling the 31 million person quota. Following the start of registrations at 6 a.m., a large number of people registered via the Baotang app, temporarily forcing it offline due to high traffic. Authorities say the app can now be used normally, while those registered through the co-pay website will receive a one-time password on their mobile phones for verification. The co-pay scheme's third phase is now open to 31 million eligible recipients. The scheme subsidizes half of the amount of general purchases made by applicants for up to 150 baht per person daily. Applicants can enjoy the benefits for 2 rounds, with each costing a maximum of 1,500 baht. The first round runs from July 1st to September 30th, and the second from October 1st to December 31st. In 3 days, a text message will be sent to registrants for verification. Meanwhile, vendors who have already signed up for the scheme must update the Thungön app to support the third phase. Many vendors say the process is simple and the scheme has increased their sales by 50%.
King Mongkut Institute of Technology, Lat Krabang, or KMITL, and King Mongkut Chao Kun Tahan Hospital Foundation have jointly developed a device capable of detecting mutated COVID-19 variants, the first of its kind in Thailand. According to Dr. Anand C. Kiat Khadon, Dean of KMITL Faculty of Medicine, the machine uses artificial intelligence to scan and identify the strains. He noted that there are currently 8 major strains being monitored worldwide, and warned that they are susceptible to further mutation with higher chances of developing more severe symptoms. The detector reads a virus genome and produces reports on possible mutations, allowing medical personnel to prepare appropriate remedies. KMITL Chancellor Dr. Suchachawi Sawansawat said one of KMITL's missions was to provide innovations in support of the nation's healthcare sector while reducing its reliance on medical imports. The university previously produced numerous devices, including an emergency ventilator, an AI-operated patient monitoring system, and a UV light disinfection machine for various medical institutions to help in the fight against COVID-19. And those were our national stories. Up next in global news. In the bodies of 25 migrants are recovered off Yemen's coast, while Italian police say 8 people have been arrested across Europe in connection with a dramatic robbery attempt of a jewelry store in Venice.
Thailand Travel Selection with the Ministry of Tourism and Sports and the Tourism Authority of Thailand.
The blue of the sea and sky and the green of a rainforest provide the perfect setting to retreat, relax, recharge, rejuvenate, and even for romance. Thailand Travel Selection spends its days fulfilled at Vanabel, a luxury collection resort, Koh Samui. Nestled against the resort's finest bright sand beach, looking out on a crystal clear ocean, is the freshwater beachfront infinity pool, just steps from the Gulf of Thailand, that can be enjoyed both during the day and at night when it lights up in an enchanting display. Presenting rejuvenation inspired by the mythical ethos of the East is Vana Spa, a haven of gentle treatments that soothe the senses with fragrances and sensations that tell a rich story. Fulfilling guests' gastronomic whims are Kiri, the bistro, beloved for its signature Eggs Benedict at breakfast and extensive selection of international dishes at dinner, and Panali, serving authentic Southern Thai cuisine made from the freshest ingredients every lunchtime. In the evening, guests are beckoned to drink in a panoramic view of the sea while sipping on their favorite beverage at the lobby lounge. Fill your days with mythic splendor at Vanabelle, a luxury collection resort, Koh Samui. Call 077-915-555 or visit worldwideweb.vanabellekohsamui.com.
In this war against the COVID-19 pandemic, we all need to pull together to relentlessly fight off this crisis. With PTT's Giving Breath Project, PTT Group will join the fight by providing breathing devices, medical instruments, and any other forms of support needed to bring this crisis to an end. PTT Group. Together, we share the same breath. Radio Thailand's news broadcast from the Public Relations Department of the Royal Thai Government on FM 95.5 and FM 107. For advertising inquiries, please email us at radiothailand@outlook.com. Global News.
You are listening to Radio Thailand's News Hour. We broadcast live from FM 88, FM 95.5, FM 107, and online at nbt.purity.co.th. Turning to our global headlines. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said in a joint interview with media outlets that he wanted to hear a clear confirmation from U.S. President Joe Biden on a NATO membership action plan for Ukraine. He also said the United States should provide economic support to Ukraine. Zelensky said Russia was dragging its feet on a meeting between him and President Vladimir Putin with no clear reason. He added that most of the Russian troops that were moved in spring to areas near Ukraine's borders had not been pulled out. Later, Zelensky received reassurances from the U.S. president that Ukraine would not be used as a bargaining chip in his talks with Russia. Zelensky said he was interested in the potential positives in the meeting between the U.S. presidents and the Russian presidents this week, but added that there was a little skepticism.
A Yemeni provincial official has reported that the bodies of 25 migrants were recovered off Yemen's coast on Monday after the boat that was carrying them capsized with up to 200 people on board. Fishermen who found the bodies told AFP that they were floating in the waters of Ras al-Arra in the southern province of Lahi, an area so rife with human trafficking that local people call it the Gate of Hell. Jalil Ahmed Ali from the Lahi Provincial Authority said the boat overturned 2 days ago and was carrying between 160 and 200 people, citing information given by Yemeni smugglers. The fate of the other people on board was still unclear. The UN's International Organization for Migration confirmed to AFP that a boat sank in the area, but said it was still trying to establish the details of the incident. Despite the grinding war in impoverished Yemen, migrants continue to travel there in the hopes of finding work in Saudi Arabia and other neighboring oil-rich states, whose economies depend on millions of foreign laborers. The fishermen said the victims found in the Bab al-Mandab Strait that separates Djibouti from Yemen appeared to be of African origin. Migrants often find themselves stranded in Yemen, which is mired in the world's most humanitarian crisis after 6 years of conflict.
Malaysia has deported a leading figure in conspiracy circles who is wanted in France over the kidnapping of an 8-year-old girl. Rami Dali, his pregnant partner, and 3 children were arrested late last month on the holiday island of Langkawi over their residency status. An anonymous source familiar with the case said the Frenchman and his family were taken under tight security to Kuala Lumpur airport and put on a flight to Singapore. From there, they were to board an Air France flight for Paris, arriving early on Monday. However, the family were still in Singapore late on Sunday after Daly's pregnant partner was hospitalized. Daly's lawyer, Jean-Christophe Bassin-Labie, told AFP that Mr. Delay and his children are under the care of the Singapore Police Service. The kidnapped girl, identified as Mia, was taken in mid-April from her grandmother's home in France by several men employed by their mother. Mia's mother had lost custody of her daughter and was no longer allowed to see her alone or speak with her on the telephone. Investigators believe Daley, known to police as a proponent of extremist conspiracy theories and a populist takeover of the state, may have helped organize the abduction. French prosecutors in April issued an international arrest warrant for Daley, who had been living in Malaysia for several years.
Iran's Navy has taken delivery of 2 new warships in a ceremony broadcast by state television several days after announcing it dispatched a squadron into the Atlantic Ocean. The delivery of the 2 ships came after Iran announced last week that it had for the first time sent a small squadron of ships into the Atlantic Ocean with the goal of reinforcing its maritime capabilities. According to a statement by the Army Chief of Staff, the Dina is an entirely Iranian destroyer equipped with a helicopter landing zone and a range of defense and attack systems. It has the capacity to cover long distances and is equipped to destroy all aerial threats along with underwater threats. The statement said the minesweeper named Shaheen is over 33 meters in length and is capable of detecting and neutralizing diverse types of naval mines. The Iranian Navy on June 2nd lost one of its biggest ships, the Karg, which sank in the Gulf of Oman after it was struck by a fire that raged for hours. The crew was evacuated and the cause remains either unknown or unpublished. Iranian naval forces describe the Karg as a support and training vessel, but military specialist globalsecurity.org categorize it as a helicopter carrier and fuel replenishment vessel.
Italian police said 8 people have been arrested across Europe in connection with a dramatic robbery attempt of a jewelry store in St. Mark's Square in Venice in 2017. The Carabinieri police said the 8 suspects arrested in Austria, Estonia, and Finland belong to an Estonian gang specialized in heists of luxury European jewelry stores. In March of 2017, members of a gang of robbers set off smoke bombs in St. Mark's Square as a distraction before targeting a jewelry store. However, the attempted heist failed after a tourist warned nearby police on patrol, and the armed thieves escaped. Video images provided by police show one suspect placing a smoke bomb at the base of the bell tower in the square, and panicked pedestrians hurrying away after the device began emitting thick plumes of gray smoke. Another smoke bomb was placed in a narrow nearby street. The arrest, announced on Monday, followed a years-long investigation coordinated by Europol. Police said the gang also carried out 3 robberies in 2016 and 2017 in Bastia, Corsica, and Innsbruck, Austria, with an estimated loot of €1 million.
An Indian official has confirmed the death of a 76-year-old man in the northeastern region of India who had 39 wives and 94 children and was said to be the head of the world's largest family. For more on this story, we head to our next segment, the Global Digest. Zoramthanga, the chief minister of Mizoram and who goes by one name, said in a tweet that Zio Nachana, the head of a local Christian sect that allows polygamy, died on Sunday. According to local media, with a total of 167 members, the family is the world's largest, although this depends on whether the grandchildren are counted, of whom Fiona was 33. Winston Blackmore, the head of a polygamous Mormon sect in Canada, has around 150 children from 27 wives, numbering 178 people in total. According to the chief minister, Ziona lived with his family in a vast 4-story pink structure with around 100 rooms in Baktar, a remote village in Mizoram that became a tourist attraction as a result. The sect, named Chana, was founded by Ziona's father in 1942 and has a membership of hundreds of families. Ziona married his first wife when he was 17 and claims he once married 10 wives in a single year. They shared a dormitory near his private bedroom, and locals said he liked to have 7 or 8 of them by his side at all times. Despite his family's huge size, Ziona told Reuters in a 2011 interview that he wanted to grow it even further. He said that he was ready to expand his family and willing to go to any extent to marry. The late Ziona also said that he had so many people to care for and look after and considered himself a lucky man.
And that's it for the global segments. Next, our business updates. Figures indicate Eurozone industrial production was stronger than expected in April. While Dutch medical equipment company Philips recalls some breathing devices and ventilators that may cause cancer. Apart from crude oil, there are 3 other fossil fuels. Coal is a combustible rock, formed over millions of years from the sedimentation of organic material. First used in China, it has provided energy for over 3,000 years and is mostly used in metal smelting, cement production, and industries that use steam power. Natural gas is created in a similar way to oil and coal, but is in a gaseous state that can be burned to release a relatively clean form of energy. Separated into LPG or NGV, it can be directly utilized. Oil shale is a fine-grained sedimentary rock that is most importantly comprised of the organic material kerogen, which is extracted through heating. 1,000 kilograms of oil shale typically produces about 100 liters of oil that can be used to manufacture kerosene, mineral oil, paraffin, lubricant, naphtha, and other byproducts. Brought to you by Prism PTT Group Synergy Platform. PTT, sustainable growth for all. With the mass inoculation against COVID-19 in Thailand set to begin on June 7, Thais and foreign nationals from all walks of life are urged to register themselves to be vaccinated at various locations in Bangkok and all provinces. A number of responsible agencies have also been tasked with assisting foreign nationals in conducting on-site registration at vaccination centers and hospitals holding their health records. To achieve herd immunity, we need you. Thailand needs you.
Thailand News, broadcast from the Public Relations Department of the Royal Thai Government on FM 95.5 and FM 107. For advertising inquiries, please email us at radiothailand@outlook.com. Business News.
In business headlines, the head of Japan's financial watchdog has said he is disappointed by the global fallout from the collapse of investment fund Archegos Capital Management, despite past regulatory reforms. Ryoso Himino, Financial Services Agency or FSA Commissioner, said in an online speech that although the problem did not result in the collapse of the financial system, it is very disappointing that such a major incident happened. Global banks, including Credit Suisse and Nomura Holdings, reported losses from Archegos, taking the total hit beyond $10 billion. Nomura said last month that it had completed the unwinding of positions related to an unnamed U.S. client, which was widely reported to be Archegos. Firmino also said the FSA will have to monitor risk management of prime brokers, as well as regulations for family offices like Archegos.
Eurozone industrial production was stronger than expected in April, driven by a more than doubling of durable consumer goods output from a year earlier, as economies steadily reopened after COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns. The European Union Statistics Office, Eurostat, said industrial output in the 19 countries sharing the euro rose 0.8% month-on-month for a 39.3% year-on-year surge. Economists polled by Reuters had expected a 0.4% monthly and a 37.4% annual jump. The biggest production gain in April against March was in durable consumer goods, where output rose 3.4% following 1.2% monthly declines in both February and March. In year-on-year terms, the gain in durable consumer goods output was a spectacular 117.3% after a 34.5% annual rise in March, with capital goods also surging 65.4% year-on-year and intermediate goods up 38.7%.
Museums, parks, beauty clinics, spas, nail salons, and tattoo shops have started reopening after the government officially lifted their closures, while restrictions on other establishments will remain in place until June 30th. Museums and historic attractions, parks and botanical gardens, beauty clinics, spas, and massage parlors, nail salons, and tattoo shops are included among the categories of businesses and attractions in Bangkok allowed to resume operations as of Monday. Certain restrictions will nevertheless remain in place at these establishments. Museums and historical attractions must ensure that visitors practice social distancing, while those at parks and gardens are still prohibited from engaging in recreational activities beyond walking and running. Beauty clinics must meanwhile implement disease prevention measures and be closely supervised by doctors. While spas and massage parlors may only offer foot massages. Following the announcement, some massage parlors were observed cleaning their facilities in preparation for the reopening. They must also ensure adequate physical distancing as well as have protective equipment on hand, such as hand sanitizers and extra masks, in case customers forget to bring their own.
Thailand and the European Union, or EU, have re-entered talks to establish a free trade agreement, or FTA, for the first time since the initiative was put on hold in 2014. Perka Tapiola, ambassador for the European Union to Thailand, recently paid a courtesy call to Deputy Prime Minister and Commerce Minister Jurin Laksanavisit to gauge future prospects for the resumption of FTA talks between Thailand and the EU. The aim was to facilitate and expand opportunities for businesses from the two regions. Discussions for an EU-Thailand FTA were launched in March of 2013, but were put on hold following political unrest. The 27-nation EU bloc is Thailand's fifth largest trading partner after ASEAN, China, Japan, and the United States. In 2020, trade value between the two economies totaled 1.03 trillion baht. That's accounting for 7.56% of Thailand's global trade. Thai exports to the EU were worth 544.9 billion baht, with top export categories including computers and components, gems and jewelry, rubber products, air conditioners and components, and vehicle equipment and components. Thai imports from the EU totaled 486.8 billion baht, with the most popular imports including machinery and components, chemicals, and medical and pharmaceutical products.
Dutch medical equipment company Philips has recalled some breathing devices and ventilators because of a foam part that might degrade and become toxic, potentially causing cancer. The group said as it announced a recall that foam used to dampen the machine sound can, when it degrades, turn into small inhaled particles, irritating airways. Gases released by the degrading foam may also be toxic or carry cancer risks. Philips chief executive Frans van Houten said that between 3 and 4 million sleep apnea machines and ventilators would be targeted. The group took a second 250 million euros or $303 million charge for the issue after announcing an identical provision in its first quarter earnings report in April, bringing the total cost of the problem to 500 million euros to date. Van Houten said in a call that all of the group's capacity and focus will go towards replacing and repairing these units, adding that the process would likely take a year. The company's guidance is for users of the so-called CPAP machines, which help people with sleep apnea to halt usage. It said doctors with patients using life-sustaining ventilators should first consider whether the potential danger from the foam outweighs other risks.
Microsoft has unveiled a batch of new titles for Xbox at the world's premier video game trade show, including award-winning sensation Hades and longtime hit Halo. For more on this story, we go to our next segment, Tech Today. The Xbox maker showed off 30 new games coming to its console, which in November will celebrate 2 decades on the market. Xbox unit chief Phil Spencer said during a streamed event on the second day of a virtual electronic entertainment expo, or E3, that its team strives to make Xbox a place where players find the greatest games, the most dedicated developers, and the most passionate community. Microsoft revealed a coming take of beloved Halo, along with new creations such as science fiction action title Starfield and a vampire battling adventure called Redfall from Bethesda Softworks. Microsoft recently acquired Bethesda Softworks, the maker of hits including Fallout and Elder Scrolls. As trailers depicted tense battles and the game's rich graphics, Microsoft stressed that all but a few would be available for play at its subscription Xbox Game Pass service. The company also highlighted titles that will be exclusive to Xbox, which competes with rival consoles Sony PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. San Francisco-based independent studio Supergiant said on Sunday that the award-winning Hades is coming to Xbox as well as PlayStation. Hades has so far only been available for play on personal computers and Switch. The title, which snagged 5 honors this year at Britain's prestigious BAFTA Games Awards, is a dungeon crawler that challenges players to fight their way through the underworld. The lineup of new titles comes as Microsoft works on software and a plug-in device to let people play Xbox video games on internet-linked televisions without need of consoles. Chief Executive Satya Nadella said in introducing the plan last week that, as a company, Microsoft is all in on gaming. Microsoft has been playing on the strength of its Xbox unit as it competes with Luna and Stadia cloud gaming services, which are run by Amazon and Google, respectively. In coming weeks, cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriptions will be possible through internet browsers Chrome, Edge, and Safari. Many are expected to tune in on the closing day of E3 this week for a Nintendo-streamed event, at which it may reveal a new version of its coveted Switch consoles, along with showing off new games.
And those were our business news. Up next, we have more headlines from Radio Thailand News.
This is Radio Thailand News.
Ports in its west, east, and south. High-speed rail links between every region and airports in every commercial city. The government has made sure to equip Thailand with a transport infrastructure as expansive as it is effective and efficient, allowing easy travel for citizens and visitors and the rapid movement of goods domestically and abroad. Thailand's infrastructure is its ticket to the future.
COVID-19. Early detection saves lives. If you have any symptoms of COVID-19, such as fever, coughing, or difficulty breathing, seek medical attention for your own benefit and those around you. If you only feel unwell, stay at home and avoid other people. Listen to trustworthy medical advice from government sources or the World Health Organization to help lighten the burden on hospitals and medical workers. You can help stop the spread of COVID-19.
Special report.
A survey by Sundusit poll found that a majority of people are willing to receive vaccines against COVID-19 as provided by the government. Pornpan Buatong, researcher from Sundusit poll, Sundusit University, reviewed the respondents' opinion on the government's campaign to persuade people that COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective, and necessary to attain herd immunity.
The poll was conducted online on 2,644 respondents throughout the country on May 17 to 21 to gauge their response to the government campaign to persuade people that COVID-19 vaccine is safe, effective, and necessary for the country to attain herd immunity. Asked if they were willing to be inoculate with the vaccine provided by the government, 64.39% of the respondents said yes, 22.30% were still undecided, and 13.31% said did not want to be vaccinated. Other groups have built confidence in the vaccination campaign. 67.74% cited information from the medical personnel, 52.13% information on the benefits, side effects, and precaution about the vaccination, and 51.86% reliable reports on the efficacy of the vaccine to be administered. Every source of information about the COVID-19 vaccine were most reliable. 31.02% through the Ministry of Public Health, health volunteers, and government agencies. 17.36% information on the television, radio, and social media, and 16.63% the World Health Organization and the Berliner medical journals.
According to the poll, a majority of people are willing to be inoculated with vaccines provided by the government, and they had already registered for the vaccination. The Ministry of Public Health, health volunteers, and government agencies were the most reliable source of information about COVID vaccine. Explanation from medical personnel would help build confidence in the vaccination campaign. Sukanda Keo Anurag reporting.
Radio Thailand News broadcast from the Public Relations Department of the Royal Thai Government at FM 95.5 and FM 107. For advertising inquiries, please email us at radiothailand@outlook.com.
Welcome to Uniquely Thailand, a program that brings you the great history, places to visit, and fun activities to do from our beautiful ASEAN nation. From the majestic five-star hotels in the capital, to simple mountainous resorts in the north, from the stunning plains and hills of the Golden Triangle to the white sand beaches in the south. Thailand has so much to offer that one visit is never enough. The ancient Thai martial arts of Muay Thai is steeped in age-old traditions and is an important part of Thai culture. For Muay Thai professionals, Muay Thai is life. Muay Thai uses the whole body as a weapon and a shield. The fierce fighting style is thought to have been used by soldiers and also by locals protecting their lands. Long before it was a sport, Muay Thai was an important survival tool. Muay Thai is referred to as the arts of 8 limbs, and using 8 points of contact, the body mimics weapons of war. The hands become the sword and dagger. The chins and forearms were hardened in training to act as armor against blows, and the elbow to fell opponents like a heavy mace or hammer. The legs and knees became the axe and staff. The body operated as one unit. The knees and elbows constantly searching and testing for an opening, while grappling and trying to spin an enemy to the ground for the kill. In the Buddhist year of 1238, the first Thai army was created in the northern city of Sukhothai, Siam being the capital. The recorded history shows that a need to defend the capital city was spawned by many wars being fought between neighboring tribes and kingdoms. The Siamese army was created to protect the government and its inhabitants within the city and surrounding villages. Soldiers were taught hand-to-hand combat and how to use weapons, as well as how to use the entire body as a weapon. Their training is what eventually evolved into Muay Thai. Learning the military arts of Muay Thai became ingrained in the culture of the early Siamese people. With the constant threat of war, training centers slowly began to appear throughout the kingdom. These were the first Muay Thai camps. Young men practiced the art form for various reasons: self-defense, exercise, discipline. Monks even instructed at many Buddhist temples, passing down knowledge and history from one generation to the next. As Muay Thai became popular with the poor and common people, it also became a required staple for the high class and royalty. The two sons of King Pa Khun Si Intaratit, the first king of Sukhothai, were also sent to learn Muay Thai at a training center. The common idea was that good warriors made brave leaders, and this would prepare them as future rulers of the kingdom. Muay Thai trainers helped to develop fighting skills, mental strength, and self-belief. They passed on dedication, commitment, and passion. Masters blessed students for safety, success, and to fight well. Fighters honor trainers with a dance ritual before every fight. The pre-fight ceremony also seeks to invoke protection for both the fighter and their opponents. Winning is desirable, but honor comes first. Win or lose, fighters congratulate one another and show respect to their opponent's trainers. Religion is strongly woven into day-to-day Thai life and also tightly incorporated into Muay Thai culture. The headpiece, armband, and shorts all have cultural and spiritual significance. Traditionally, these are blessed to provide luck and protection. Thailand has many superstitions and a strong belief in spirits. The Ram Muay, part of the Muay Thai rituals, pay respect to spirits. In the regulated world of Muay Thai, there are few practical fears on entering a Muay Thai ring. In the past, however, when fighters were going to war, divine blessings were much more significant. Military camps and temples were centers of Muay Thai training in the past. Monks often became Muay Thai masters, passing on fighting techniques and religious teachings together. There are many reasons children begin Muay Thai. It is rarely because of dreams of becoming a champion. Of course, there were some children who trained in Muay Thai just for fun. Many Thai parents hope that Muay Thai can help families financially. Some, particularly in rural areas, see Muay Thai as being the only realistic opportunity a son has of earning money. Children from broken homes or homes in crisis sometimes find refuge at a Muay Thai camp. Camps can provide a stable and secure environment for children who would have few chances otherwise. For some children, Muay Thai offers a way to completely change the course of their lives. Children may skip their favorite activities at home in favor of training. Keeping up with the demanding training schedule along schooling is also tough. Once children have devoted their lives to Muay Thai, there are often few other options available to them. Parents who can afford it generally send their children to universities. Muay Thai offers an alternative path for poorer families. Other wealthy Thais may practice Muay Thai for fitness and fun. It is rare for a professional fighter to come from such a background. Many top Muay Thai fighters are from northeast Thailand, most having begun in modest camps with little high-tech equipment. These gyms are very unlike that shown in the video, with its numerous good quality punch bags and modern facilities. Fighters often need to succeed to be able to earn money, both for themselves and for their families. Although now a competitive sport, Muay Thai is still very much a means of survival for many fighters. Many Muay Thai professionals retire at a young age, unsurprising given the early age that many begin training and the number of fights they cram into their careers. In the past, retirement often led to hardship with few other skills. Ex-fighters often found it tough to find alternative work. With growing interest in the sport, many former fighters are now able to work by training others. Muay Thai has progressed significantly over the past 100 years. Due to the noticeable national popularity, it began to garner international recognition and exposure. In World War II, after formally being introduced to Muay Thai, foreigners named it Siam Boxing, as Thailand was formerly Siam. Soldiers from Europe and America would watch attentively as the Thai soldiers practiced Muay Thai amongst themselves. They were so impressed with the style of fighting that they asked the Thai soldiers to teach them the fundamentals and traditions of Muay Thai. As it became more popular internationally, the rules began to change so it could be better organized and governed like established sports such as boxing. In the 1920s, rings were introduced to replace open courtyards, which ultimately planted the roots of modern Muay Thai. The first formal rules were introduced to the sport of Muay Thai after World War II ended. Fights were divided into 5 rounds, with a time limit on each. A clock was used to determine the length of each round instead of a coconut shell with holes sinking in a barrel of water. And major Muay Thai stadiums were erected in large cities throughout the country. Muay Thai fighters train many hours a day and often begin when they were 6 to 8 years of age. They typically take their first fights when they are 8 to 10 years old and may accumulate as many as 120 to 150 before they reach their mid-20s. Due to how physically demanding the sport is and how early the average Thai person begins fighting, Muay Thai fighters generally do not have long careers. Muay Thai fighters are known for their tough skin and ability to ignore pain and injuries, which are quite common. The fighters deal with everything from cuts and lacerations to the face and head, to broken bones and severe sprains throughout their careers. Today, Muay Thai is becoming very popular on a global scale. It was recently accepted as an Olympic sport, finally gaining its deserved recognition. Professional martial artists from all sides of the fighting spectrum agree that learning Muay Thai is essential for them to become an all-around fighter. As new training camps and gyms open around the world, Muay Thai will continue to grow in popularity. Uniquely Thailand will return next time with great stories and information about hundreds of other majestic places and awesome activities still waiting to be explored throughout Thailand, our beloved kingdom, the land of smiles. Thank you for joining us today. สวัสดีครับ
Government efforts to secure a lasting peace and unity in the South are comprehensive and extend to bettering the lives of all Southerners from birth through life. Seeking positive change in all dimensions, the government has remained open to any and all recommendations for area of work, believing that improved daily life for Southerners will end violence and bring about not only peace but prosperity. The Southern Border Provinces Development Strategy Committee, under the Ministry of Interior, pinpointed the matter of nutrition in young children as an area in need of support and improvement, tapping offices including social development and human security, public health, education, and local administrations to form a collaborative effort. Meeting to review areas of improvement of life and order in Pattani, Yala, and Narathiwat. The committee acknowledged a brief that explained that nutrition for young children before the age of 5 could be improved. The Ministry of Interior was placed as a coordinating office and is to work with other relevant ministries as well as the Southern Border Provinces Administrative Center and Bureau of the Budget. The committee agreed with the study, finding nutrition for young children in the southern border provinces had become an issue of concern, compiled by local social development and human security offices. The study detailed that children from birth up to the age of 5 were not receiving adequate nutrition in many areas of the South, affecting their mental and physical development and posing the possibility that progress in the South could be impeded in the long term. Initially, attending offices and agencies resolved to stage and sponsor activities directly addressing nutrition and to create a framework for operations relating to the issue, as well as the larger issue of child development. Members of the Southern Border Provinces Development Strategy Committee asserted that government care for the South encompasses the health of its people. With the health and development of children a priority, it was stated that the best possible solution to the issue of malnutrition would be sought in accordance with the context of the South, and the region's next generation would receive the care they need to grow into healthy and contributing members of Thai society. After taking on the task and delegating responsibility, the committee called for regular updates on the situation so that implemented solutions may be assessed and adjusted so that the problem may be sufficiently rectified for the sake of peace, prosperity, and progress. Radio Thailand News, broadcast from the Public Relations Department of the Royal Thai Government on FM 95.5 and FM 107. For advertising inquiries, please email us at radiothailand@outlook.com.
A common misconception is that we only use 10% of our brains, and that if only regular folk could tap into the other 90%, they too could become savants who remember to the 20,000th decimal place, or perhaps even have telekinetic powers, like in the 2014 sci-fi film Lucy, starring Scarlett Johansson. Though it may be alluring, the 10% brain idea is completely false. True, at any given moment, all of the brain's regions aren't firing simultaneously, but brain researchers using imaging technology have shown that, like the body's muscles, most are continually active over a 24-hour period. The notion has been linked to the American psychologist and author William James, who argued in The Energies of Man that we make use of only a small part of our mental and physical resources. It's also been associated with Albert Einstein, who supposedly used it to explain his cosmic towering intellect.
That's where we wrap up the morning news hour for Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. Our next news hour is at midday today, but you can catch Radio Thailand's early news for updates around the clock.
Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Nawarat Wong Araya. สวัสดีค่ะ
And I'm Kajang Wittongji. สวัสดีครับ
Live from the Public Relations Department of the Royal Thai Government, that was News Hour.
With raindrops falling from the sky, with the morning sun so brightly shine, on the bridge coming through above, together we can wish upon the stars, with inheritance heart of gold.
concludes our program in English for listeners in Asia and the Pacific, the Middle East and Africa, Europe and America.